welcome to AGK's Vinyl Life. I'm your host, Anthony K. And on this week's episode, I'm going to be doing my third and final Vinyl Finds episode of 2021. And as I said in the previous two episodes, I had planned 3 Vinyl Finds episodes for the month of December. This is the last one, and it's going to wrap up all the other vinyl that I picked up over the course of the year. Mainly live albums, compilation albums, and remasters and reissues. That's what's in today's video. I got a huge pile of records here, so I'm going to really try to get through this fast because last week I didn't think it was going to be that long a video. I had 20 albums to show, and I ended up spending a good 40 minutes showing them because I like to, talk about each album and give you guys good information about each album. But I've got almost 40 albums here now to show, so I do not plan this video to go 40 minutes like last time's. So I'm going to be talking very, very briefly about these albums. Maybe a minute an album, even less. So let's get on with it. But before I do that, I just want to remind everybody that if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to my channel. And turn that notification bell on so you don't miss any of my videos. If you like this video, please give it thumbs up. Thumbs up always make people feel good. And don't forget to leave your comments down below. I always reply to every comment I get. Sometimes it takes me a little while, but I always make sure to reply to every comment. And last but not least, if you're not following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is at AGK_Lifetime of Vinyl, where I post my spin of the day every day, among other things. So let's get on with it. Big pile of records to show you. And my last video of this particular category of vinyl finds was in May, and it covered all my vinyl finds of this category from January through April. So this video is going to cover all my vinyl finds of this category from May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. I'm not going to do a lot of talking about these because I'm sure some of these have been shown by other people before. First up, released for the first time ever, the full concert, Pink Floyd live at Knebworth in 1990. Part of the Knebworth concert series. I know that on Record Store Day, there was a Robert Plant Record Store Day 12-inch that had a few songs. There was a Genesis 12-inch. I hope the Robert Plant and the Genesis shows do get the full treatment, and they released the entire show from Knebworth, because there were a lot of great acts at Knebworth that did full concerts that have never been released before, and this Pink Floyd show is fantastic. It's a shorter concert than most Pink Floyd concerts, but it's got it's got all the greats on it. I'm not going to get into all the details. It's got Shine On, Crazy Diamond, Great Gig in the Sky, Wish You Were Here, Sorrow, Money, Comfortably Numb, Run Like Hell. It's a nice little encapsulated, shorter concert for when you want a short fix of Pink Floyd live. Fantastic pressing, beautiful sound. Just a great Pink Floyd thing. Absolutely. If you don't want to spin like Pulse or the Delicate Sound of Thunder, which are much longer concerts, this is a nice, in the nutshell, Pink Floyd live album. Next up, I also picked this one up earlier in the summer, and this is the first time it's ever been released, period, on vinyl. So it is the Steve Miller Band live, Breaking Ground, August 3rd, 1977. Steve Miller Band live in 1977. This was at the height of the most famous formation of the Steve Miller Band there ever was. This was right in the Book of Dreams, right when Book of Dreams was hitting the market, hence the back cover. And this is a really, really great concert. Good sound, really good sound. Sounds great. The Steve Miller Band were at their peak on this album. And I picked this up in the summer, and I believe Robert's on my turntable showed this recently as he picked this album up with his prize winnings from my 1,000 subscribers contest. But fantastic 2-record set. It's just a 2-record set in one sleeve, but it does have a nice book in it as well. Steve Miller Band live, great live album. Next up, a comp from a series that I've been collecting. I've shown many times on my channel before, and it is the Brown Acid series from Writing Easy Records. This is Brown Acid, the 12th trip, which came out at the end of March. And my particular version is on a purple, kind of a marbly purple, white, black, and purple marbled. I went for the hand pour. I went for the super limited. I've got every Brown Acid they've released so far, but unfortunately, I'm still waiting for my 13th trip. That's right, I'm waiting for my 13th trip, which was released on October 31st. This is the first time I've had to wait for a Brown Acid album. I always buy directly from Writing Easy Records, all these albums. And for the 13th trip, the particular color of vinyl I ordered, being one of the rarer colors, has been delayed, and I'm still waiting for them to ship it out, which is very disappointing. They emailed me and said there's a delay, but we all know about the record pressing delays this year. But here's the 12th trip. You know, it's all great garage rock, hard rock. Another great volume. Check out my other videos on Writing Easy Records. Check out my video on that. It talks about them. A great compilation of forgotten gems and rare gems, all scooped together for yet another fantastic trip of garage and hard rock from the late 60s and early 70s. And I hope my 13th trip shows up one day soon. Next up, another live album from one of my favorite bands of all time, New Order. And this live album dropped in May of this year for the very first time, and it's on vinyl, of course. It's a triple LP, and it's called Live at the Alexandra Palace. Education, Entertainment, and Recreation. New Order. Not a lot to see on the cover. New Order albums always have kind of very basic covers. It's nice. It's got a slipcase with 3 individual LPs with inner sleeves in them. It's all on black wax. 3 different albums in the jacket, as you can see. And there is a booklet as well. There's a nice booklet. And this is taken from their last tour that they were in progress of when lockdown hit. They were currently on that particular tour. I saw that tour in 2018. What a fantastic show. So this is basically recorded from that same tour. Fantastic show. I have tickets to see New Order. I was supposed to see them in 2020 last year, but of course the pandemic delayed it till 2021 this year, and then it was delayed again, and now I'm supposed to see them in September of 2022. New Order live. Fantastic, really good sounding recording. Great pressing. New Order pressings are always great, and the live recording is fantastic with a fantastic set list. All the greatest New Order songs are on here. Next up, another reissue. This is another reissue, a music on vinyl reissue. I love music on vinyl pressings. I'm a big fan of music on vinyl pressings. And this is from my favorite band, Golden Earring. And this is a brand new reissue from music on vinyl of Contraband. That's right, Contraband, which was known in North America and Canada as Mad Love, had a completely different cover. And the track, just like Moontan, the track listings were mixed around. There was one song, just like Moontan, that was on the Canadian version that was not on the original version. And one song on the original version that not on the Canadian version. Once again, a Golden Earring album being repackaged for the North American market. This cover obviously way better than the cover that Canada got. And this is a limited edition 1,500 numbered editions, and this is on a safari colored vinyl. It's kind of a browny green colored vinyl, and I got number 251 out of 1,500. A classic. I highly recommend. This is one of Golden Earring's best albums. Bombay, Con Man, Mad Love's Coming, one of my favorite Golden Earring songs of all time. Fighting Windmills, Time's Up, Bombay, a fantastic spin. Golden Earring, Contraband, which dropped early in the summer. Next up, the first time this album has been reissued since the 80s, and they are from a hair metal band that didn't go very far. I think they only had the one album, maybe 2, I'm not sure, but they didn't do very much. It's a fun hair metal album. It's real basic hair metal, but it kicks ass. It kicks ass, and it's Seduce with Too Much Ain't Enough, hair metal band from the mid 80s. And this is a reissue on a, I believe it's a purple vinyl. Yeah, it's a reissue on a very dark purple vinyl. And it's some fun, basic hair metal. I like it. It's good stuff. Comes with an insert as well. Basic insert. Seduce. Too much ain't enough. Some hair metal for you. Next up, an album I've been looking for years and years and years. I've been trying to find an OG copy of this album to get back in my collection. It's one of only 2 holes in my Alice Cooper catalog that I have never filled on vinyl. I have CD version of this album, but I've been holding out for an original OG pressing of this album, and they're few and far between. And if you want one that's got the original Paper Panties, and I think you guys know what album I'm talking about now, they are very expensive and very rare. And me being a completist, I didn't want to, I can pick up an OG pressing that didn't come with the panties, but I really wanted the complete package. But Friday Music this year reissued Schools Out, remastered and reissued Schools Out with the original packaging inside. I'm not going to open this up because it'll take too much time up. And it's got the original Paper Panties in it. It's got the die-cut school desk that opens up. A fantastic pressing, beautiful sounding, and this is a limited edition version I got. That it was actually, this was limited to only, I think it was 500 or something, or I don't know, limited to 1,000 or something. And this was number 567, and it includes a bunch of bonus collector cards in here. There's collector cards among other things in here. Alice Cooper Schools Out reissue. Next up are 2 reissues from, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest Canadian punk band there ever was. They are a lot of times they are referred to as Canada's Ramones. Even the Ramones call them Canada's Ramones. And I'm talking about Teenage Head. I've talked about them before. They're and this summer at Record Store Day, though these weren't part of the Record Store Day drop, they were released on Record Store Day, and they are the 2nd and 3rd albums by Teenage Head, finally remastered and reissued for the first time ever. Since their original release. And this one here, Frantic City, my favorite Teenage Head album, and probably one of my favorite punk albums of all time. Teenage Head, Frantic City. This is spectacular. I highly recommend this album to anybody that likes punk. These guys, I mean, look at the cover. This guy, the cover says it all. So Teenage Head, Frantic City, finally reissued, and it's on a pink, a yellow with blue and yellow swirl. So it's a multicolored pressing, beautiful sounding pressing. Really happy. And though I have my original OG of this, I just couldn't resist this one. I'm not one to have more than one pressing of an album in my collection. I really am not. I could probably count the number of albums in my collection that I have more than one copy of, and that's on 2 hands. That's it. I have less than 10 albums in my whole collection that I have more than one copy of, and I just definitely don't have 3 copies of any album. But this one I had to go for because I just love this album. My original album still sounds good, but I had to go for this one. Teenage Head, Frantic City, and then the 3rd album, which also released at the same time, Teenage Head, Some Kind of Fun. Fantastic stuff. Look it up. This one's on a purple with pink swirl vinyl. So happy. Remastered, reissued. Really happy to have both of those in. I don't have an OG of this one anymore, so really happy to have this one back in my collection. Dropped this summer. Next up is a compilation that came out this summer for the first time ever. It's from a series, and I gather there's a series of compilations by this company. They all have similar covers from similar genre groups. It's all from classic 70s funk and soul and disco bands of the 70s. I love these guys, and I was really happy to pick this up. It is a 2-album set, and they're in one jacket, a 2 LP in one jacket. Set of the OJs, best of the OJs, and expands their entire career. I love this album. There were some great OJ songs. I was a big fan of the OJs. Backstabbers, Love Train. Come on, who doesn't love those songs? And I Love Music, one of my favorite funk songs of all times. I Love Music. This is just a great spin. It's got everything you'd ever have wanted from the OJs. Highly recommend this one. Beautiful pressing, great sounding, and like I said, it's from a series. I haven't checked out any of the other albums from this series, but the OJs one I had to have. Fantastic. Next up is a reissue for the first time since it originally came out, way back in 1970, of a soundtrack to a film It's a soundtrack to a film, but it's also a debut album from a group. And the film was from Harry Saltzman, who was one of the 2 producers of the first 6 James Bond films. Originally, it was Albert R. Broccoli and Harry Saltzman that did all the Connery films. The film itself was Harry Saltzman did this film, and it was Harry Saltzman in collaboration with Don Kirshner, of course, famous for Don Kirshner's rock concert. And Don Kirshner was very instrumental in putting this group together. The group's name was Tomorrow, Tomorrow. That was the name of the band, Tomorrow, Tomorrow. And the film was also called Tomorrow, Tomorrow. And it was a film about a band trying to get their big break in life. It came out in 1970. And the reason I got this, and I believe this is on a it's on a very dark purple. As you can see, it's a really dark, translucent purple. And what is special about this, and the reason I had to have this, is because one of the members, the 4 members of the Tomorrow, Tomorrow band was Miss Olivia Newton-John. That's right, Olivia Newton-John. This is her first recording ever, as she is part of this band, Tomorrow, Tomorrow. Before she released her Let Me Be There album and her had a solo albums of any sort. This was her first thing, Tomorrow, Tomorrow. It's fantastic. It's a great kind of 60s psych pop spin. Tomorrow, Tomorrow. Next up, an album that I picked up again. And the main reason I picked this up again is because when this album dropped in 2020, it literally only dropped on vinyl like this. And I'm speaking of Lady Gaga's Chromatica. This is the original 2020 pressing, which I thought for the vinyl version, this was really crappy the way she released this album when the CD had beautiful packaging and whatnot. And it was really crappy that this was the way they released the vinyl. So when this deluxe edition came out this summer, I went for it. I'm not going to open it up. It's a beautiful trifold panel with beautiful artwork, a beautiful booklet inside with gorgeous photography, a nice 180 gram black vinyl pressing. But I had to have it just because that packaging always bothered me. So I went for it again. I got another copy of this. It's a fantastic album, but I got the deluxe edition with the really, really gorgeous packaging. Lady Gaga Chromatica, the 2021 repackaging on vinyl. Next up, moving along. Next up. This one came out this fall, right when No Time to Die dropped in the movie theaters. This album came out at the same time. This is the Best of Bond, James Bond, a triple LP set, 3 LPs. The Best of Bond, James Bond. If you're not a James Bond, if you've got no James Bond in your collection, this will give you everything. It's all the themes songs from all of the films. All 26 classic theme songs from all 25 films. So you've got the themes from, of course, the James Bond theme from Dr. No, from Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, We Have All the Time in the World, also from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Diamonds Are Forever, Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, Nobody Does It Better, which is Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, For Your Eyes Only, All Time High, which was Octopussy, A View to a Kill, which was done by Duran Duran, big hit for Duran Duran, The Living Daylights, License to Kill, GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies, The World Is Not Enough, Die Another Day, You Know My Name, which was the theme from Casino Royale, Another Way to Die, which was the theme from Quantum of Solace, Skyfall, the beautiful Adele song, Writings on the Wall from Spectre, and of course No Time to Die by Billie Eilish. So you get all the themes in one great package, triple LP on black vinyl. Fantastic pressing, fantastic sound. The remastering on this is incredible. These songs sound better than any other James Bond version of these songs that I have. Any other version of these James Bond songs that I have. Sounds fantastic. Best of James Bond. Next up is a reissue of an album from, I believe it around 1990. This album originally came out. And this is the Electric Light Orchestra Part 2. And this is the other side of the of ELO, the side without Jeff Lynne. So Bevan and company would go out and make their own Electric Light Orchestra album, and this one is fantastic. If you like ELO, you'll like this too. There's no Jeff Lynne on this, but it's unmistakably ELO. Some great catchy songs. Of course, Bevan put this together with his iteration of the Electric Light Orchestra. I love this album. It is really great. ELO, the Electric Light Orchestra, Part 2. Reissued for the first time since I think it was 1990. Next up, an album people have been showing lately and talking about, so I won't spend too much time talking about it. It is the Nirvana Nevermind 30th Anniversary Limited Edition, which comes with a bonus 7-inch single. Beautiful remaster. I don't even need to talk about this album. It's a fantastic album. I don't need to talk about it. It's probably the only grunge album I really like. Nirvana's Nevermind. This is the 30th Anniversary Limited Edition, which was easy to get. People were saying it's so hard to get this edition. Easy peasy for me to get it. I had no problem finding a copy of this. It comes with a 7-inch bonus single. The 7-inch bonus single is absolute crap. The 3 songs on the bonus single, I don't know where they dug them up from, but they're absolute crap. So whatever. But I needed a copy of this album in my collection anyhow, so why not get the remaster? Great remastering, great sounding. Never mind. Nirvana. Next up is another comp from Riding Easy Records that dropped in November this year, and it is the first of a new series. Even though I'm still waiting for my Brown Acid 13th trip, Riding Easy Records, if you're out there listening, get me my album. It's 2 months delayed. I paid for this thing like months and months ago. Get it to me. But Riding Easy Records have started a new series. Because the Brown Acid series has been so successful, they decided to start on the second series on metal albums of the 80s, because the Brown Acid series, of course, covers mid-late 60s to early mid-70s rock, garage rock, hard rock music from that era. So they've decided to start another series. Same guys that make the Brown Acid series are the guys that pick the tracks for this series, and this series is called Scrap Metal, and it is 80s metal. It is metal from the 80s, hair metal, mostly metal and hair metal from the 80s. Rare gems, rare gems of metal. And this album kicks ass. I'm so happy. This is volume 1. I hope there's many, many more volumes to come. I think they intend this to be like the Brown Acid series. This is the first volume. I got the very limited version, which was on a clear blood vinyl thing. This was the limited edition of that. There's a number of colors, but I went for the blood vinyl edition. Scrap Metal. 10 fantastic metal and hair metal tracks in this collection. I highly recommend it. I love these series, and another good start to another, hopefully, long and great series of albums from Riding Easy Records. And next up, we're halfway there, over halfway there. We're down to our last pile. This last pile is going to go really fast. You'll see why. Have a sip here. And next up, in my last video, for those that watched my last video, I showed you the Corettes, and I told you that in that video, they are, to me, my discovery of 2021. I mean, these guys have been around since around 2015, but I discovered them earlier this year, and got their first 2 albums when they were reissued on vinyl. And I took a chance. I heard some songs from them and it sounded interesting, so I took a chance and bought both their first 2 albums. And of course, their new album just dropped, and I showed it in my last video. And they are the Corettes, and these are the first 2 albums. Here are the Corettes, their debut album, and this was more of an EP. Well, it's not an EP. It's got 8 tracks, so a little shorter than a full album. And of course, as I told you guys in my last video, watch my last video, because I don't want to go into a big discussion about them again. But they are basically 2 people, husband and wife team, only the 2 of them. This is garage rock at its absolute finest, punk to garage rock at its absolute finest. Fantastic. Here are the Corettes. This is the first album, and then the second album, and I love this album. This could be my favorite of the 3 albums they've released, although I do love the new one. I'm getting to like the new one more and more. But this one here is some of the best garage rock I've ever heard in my life. This album just smokes. This is just a killer of an album. We Are the Corettes, their second album. And that first album was on a white vinyl. This second album's on a red vinyl. And this one, oh my gosh, just look up on YouTube and have a listen if you can find it to the big songs. Time is Ticking was a big single release from here. All About You is great. But the song that just blew my mind, that made me an instant fan, was Voodoo Doll. Find and listen to Voodoo Doll. It is just kicks butt. We Are the Corettes, absolutely must have. Fantastic. My favorite new discovery of 2021, the Corettes. And then next up is a pile of albums here from my favorite prog rock band of all time. They are Canadian. They are actually, I would say, my favorite Canadian band of all time. People would probably say, what, not Rush, Anthony, or Neil Young and Crazy Horse, or some of these other big famous Canadian bands. No, actually, these guys are my favorite band. I have followed them since their very first album, and their debut album is hands down my favorite prog rock album by anybody of all time ever in history. For me personally, I love these guys. They grew up not too far from me, and I have followed this band. They actually have more studio albums in their catalog than Rush do. They probably have more studio albums in their catalog than most Canadian bands do, as well as live albums. This is my original OG pressing of their first album, and I'm talking about Saga, and this is their original first album on Polydor Records. I just wanted to show you that I still have this. It still sounds great. I mean, it still sounds absolutely fantastic. I've always kept it in very good condition. As you can see, I bought this brand new when it came out. And I was always like that as a kid. I always take very, very good care of my albums, especially albums that I really, really loved when I was young. I just took really good care of. And Saga, this album right here, my favorite album of all time by Saga, and my favorite prog rock album for sure of all time. So this year, Saga announced they were remastering and reissuing their entire catalog. And the majority of the catalog is the first time ever on vinyl, because only Saga's first 7 albums originally were released. The albums from about 1978 through to 1987 or so. They were the only albums that were ever released on vinyl. The last one, Wildest Dreams, the 7th album, was released it's not very easy to find that 7th one, Wildest Dreams. And I think the 8th one was released very, very, very limitedly on vinyl. I never saw a copy ever here in Canada. Saga have continued to be huge, huge, huge in Germany. They have massive following in Germany and a massive following in Brazil. In fact, back in the day, in the 80s, when Saga were really topping the charts, they did a concert in a stadium in Brazil, the soccer stadium in Brazil. They did a concert, headlined a concert in Brazil that was sold out. And the fans in Brazil were so crazy for Saga that they actually were rioting and climbing over the walls of the stadium to get in to see the concert. That's how huge Saga were, that they could fill a soccer stadium and have more fans climbing over the walls to get in to see them. I love Saga. They are fantastic. I've got a playlist on my channel of some of my favorite Saga songs. Check it out. It shows some live footage of various songs that somebody else had posted on YouTube. But that's their first album, and this year Saga announced that they were reissuing their entire catalog and remastering them all in Germany and enhancing the artwork on them and turning them all into gatefolds. So I went for, and like I talked about before, I rarely buy seconds, but this being my favorite prog album of all time, I had to go for the remaster and reissue with reimagined artwork, well, just slightly redone artwork, and of course a beautiful gatefold, and all on 180-gram vinyl and remastered and reissued. So I had to pick up the original debut album. And they've been releasing the albums in bunches, 3 or 4 at a time. They're currently about halfway through their catalog, and their catalog has over 20 studio albums, well over 20 studio albums. I think they're just over halfway point, maybe 2/3 of the way through their catalog now. There's only about a half a dozen more albums I need to get on vinyl, and I am going to be buying the rest of the series because the rest of the albums, I think the 1 or 2 more actually did come out on vinyl, like I said, very, very limited. But the rest of their catalog has only appeared on CD, and even the CDs are uber, uber rare. The CDs of the rest of their catalog are uber rare. I have their 2010s pressings on vinyl, being Saga City in 2020. I have and Symmetry. I have those albums on vinyl, but all their stuff from the 1990s and 2000s was only ever on CD and is really, really rare and hard to find. So finally happy to get those all on vinyl as they release them. And the next one in the catalog, this is their 8th studio album. I'm just going to show these real fast. This was their 8th studio album, The Beginner's Guide to Throwing Shapes. A fantastic spin. The Beginner's Guide to Throwing Shapes. Their 8th album. And they all have gatefolds. I'm not going to open the gatefolds and show you the gatefolds and take up a lot of time. They all have beautiful gatefolds, beautiful mastering, beautiful pressing. Then their 9th album, and this is Security of Illusion, and this had a very popular song on it. Mind Over Matter was a big hit from this one. There was this big single from this. Mind Over Matter. Their 9th album. Their 10th album. And this is the first time. Now those ones, they did come out on vinyl, but like I said, I never saw them. They weren't released in Canada at all on vinyl. I think they were probably released in Germany and some other places on vinyl, but never here. So those two finally on vinyl for the first time here. And then everything from this point on, this is the first time ever released on vinyl. So they've all been remastered for vinyl, and the artwork has been redone for the vinyl pressings. The next one up is Steel Umbrellas. I'm just going to show these real quick. Steel Umbrellas. We're into the 90s now. Steel Umbrellas. The next album, Generation 13, which was actually a concept album. Generation 13. This is a double LP. Generation 13. A concept album. The 12th album, The Pleasure and the Pain. And this one had a completely different cover when it was first released here in Canada on CD. And it showed a picture, a close-up of a girl's face, and she was sticking her tongue out, and she had a pin piercing her tongue. She had like a big long pin jammed through her tongue. But this is the artwork that's more famously known around the world. Pleasure and the Pain, the 12th album, remastered first time on vinyl. And these ones just arrived last week. These were the December releases because they released a chunk in October, a chunk in November. This is the chunk from December. I'm not sure what's coming in January. I hope they're continuing in January, hopefully with the next couple albums and so on. But these are December's drops. The next album after Pain and Pleasure, the 13th album, was a live album. It was a double live album called Detours. And I haven't had a chance to spin this yet. It's still sealed. But Detours, their 13th release. And then their next album after that is called Full Circle, which I haven't had a chance to crack open yet as well. Full Circle. I will be playing these over the Christmas holidays. Full Circle. This is their 13th studio album, technically. And we'll see what comes next. So happy to have that. All of these, I highly recommend Saga. One of my favorite bands of all time, and my favorite prog band of all time, and probably my favorite Canadian band of all time. Saga. And next up. This album is a comp. It came out a few weeks ago. It's a great spin from one of another favorite band of mine. Maybe not my top 20 favorite bands, but certainly one of my high up there in my favorite bands of all time. They are The Alarm. The Alarm from Ireland. And this is History Repeating. It's a brand new compilation album by The Alarm, going through their entire career from 1981 to 2021. So it's got all the best of The Alarm. I highly recommend that if you guys don't know The Alarm, if you've never listened to The Alarm, this is a great place to start. Everything's remastered and pressed beautifully, and it goes through their entire catalog, and they are still making records to this day. So it goes right through their catalog, and of course, like a lot of compilation albums, this greatest hits album has a brand new track at the very end called History Repeating, a brand new studio track at the very end to sucker you into buying that greatest hits album, because the only place you can get that song is on here. But it is a really, really great spin. The Alarm, History Repeating, 1981 to 2021. And the last couple up here, this one just came out a couple of weeks ago. Just show real quick. Finally, for the first time on vinyl, the complete concert, just like we talked about those Nebworth concert, the first time ever on concert, the complete concert of the legendary 1979 No Nukes concert series, the Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band and his complete performance at the No Nukes concert. And this is a really great spin. It's a 2 LP set. Fantastic set. Really, really well pressed. Sounds great. Great lineup. And there's some original songs on here that you won't find on any other Bruce Springsteen album, like Stay, the Detroit Medley, Quarter to Three, Rave On. These have all never been on any other Bruce live album or any album. And of course, Stay featured Tom Petty and Jackson Browne sharing vocals on Stay. Bruce Springsteen, E Street Band, No Nukes concert, recent release, fantastic, sounds great. And the last couple in my set are albums I haven't had a chance to spin yet also, the last 3. And of course, as everybody knows, I went to see Genesis' last Domino tour at the end of November. And I am wearing the last Domino tour t-shirt today for your viewing pleasure. I picked this one up at the show. And what's really great about it, I'm just going to spin around for you. What's really great about this shirt, if you look at it, it shows 1974 to 2021. And what's on there are all the venues and all the shows that Genesis played here in Toronto in their entire career. And what's special about this shirt for me is I was at every single one of those shows. So really special to get this t-shirt at the concert because I was at every one of those shows that they list on the back. And I even have my concert tickets from them. So because of the Genesis last Domino tour, I didn't really need this. But me being a Genesis completist, I got it anyhow, even though I have all these songs on the original studio albums. But I picked up the Genesis, the last Domino. This is a 4 LP book style box set. It's not really a box set because it's in a book style. It's a book style box set. Genesis, the last Domino. And the track listing on this is basically the track listing of the tour. So they've basically done a greatest hits package. These are the original studio recordings. It's made in Germany. Original studio recordings, but it runs in the order of the actual concert tour. Genesis, the last Domino compilation box set, book set, whatever you want to call it. I had to get it because I'm a completist. I haven't had a chance to open it yet, but I will soon, though I know everything that's on it. And the last 2 albums I'm going to show you real quick here. This one just dropped last week, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago this came out. I haven't had a chance to open it yet. This one's on clear vinyl. I got the limited edition on clear vinyl. And it is Alan Parsons. Fantastic. You know, Alan Parsons project, The Never Ending Show live in the Netherlands. It is a 3 LP set, a 3 LP concert set. I'm looking forward to spinning this. I'm really looking forward. I always loved Alan Parsons and the Alan Parsons Project, and he's put together a fantastic band. And people have told me that I've heard a few people say this is a fantastic recording, and people that saw this tour said it was a fantastic tour. And all the great Alan Parsons stuff is here for you guys. You know, Damned If I Do, Don't Answer Me, Time, Breakdown, I Wouldn't Want to Be Like You, Psychobabble, you know, Don't Let It Show, I, Robot. You know, all the great stuff is here. So I'm looking forward to spinning this very, very soon. And very last up on the show today, the first album by this young lady that was released in English. And I'm going to try to collect as many of these as I can to add to my Pop Divas category of my record collection. As people know, I love Britney Spears, Madonna, all the Pop Divas. I have nothing by this artist on CD or vinyl, but I plan on starting to collect these as they are released. She had a number of albums in Spanish before she released her debut album in English. And I'm talking about Shakira. And this is her debut English album called Laundry Service. So this is the first, and I hope they continue to release her albums. I believe they are going to continue to release the subsequent albums one by one, all remastered. This is on a beautiful yellow vinyl to match that washing machine. Laundry Service by Shakira, which of course had the big single on it, Whenever, Wherever, was it? Whenever, Wherever. Tongue twister. Shakira, her first English language album released in North America. Finally pressed to vinyl, and it's on a beautiful yellow vinyl. And that's it, that's all. Hopefully I didn't take up too much of your time. I don't know how long I was. I tried to blow through this as fast as possible. I hope you enjoyed seeing all this stuff. My next video will be dropping New Year's Eve, where I will be doing my top 21 albums of 21. That's right, my top 21 of 21 will be dropping New Year's Eve. I'll see you guys all in that video. Have a great holiday. Stay safe, stay well. Have a fun, happy holidays, everybody. See you on New Year's Eve. And as I always say, rock and roll!